What's going on, everybody? Welcome on into episode 219 of the Garage Beers podcast. We are loaded up with a humongous show here tonight. There is news. Chad, we talked about a doldrum. We talked about a doldrum in sports. We talked about the NBA season being over. We talked about the NHL season being over. There's no football going on right now. We talked about the doldrums, but not this week. Not this week. There is sports news everywhere this week, especially concerning our local teams here in the Cleveland, Columbus area, and we're going to get to all of it tonight. We are brought to you here live on the OBR streaming network. The Orange and Brown Report is the oldest and largest independent Cleveland Brown site in all of Cleveland, and then they let us come on once a week and talk about whatever we want to talk about, including tonight with a great special guest, one of our best friends here on the Garage Beers podcast. We're going to talk about the CAVS with Tim Alcorn. We're going to talk about the Guardians with Tim Alcorn because, you know, you could catch Tim Alcorn calling some Guardians games every now and then. So we're going to talk about that with Tim. We're going to get into the Blue Jackets and the NHL draft and the NBA draft. There's just a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. So we're going to get into all of it. Make sure you are following the OBR at the OBR. Make sure you're following the show at the Garage Beers on all the socials. And with you as always, I'm your host, Michael Keefe. Find me online at Garage Beers Mike. And joining me over on the east side of Cleveland, out on a beautiful night on the porch out there, it's my co-host, Chad Meyer at Garage Beers. Chad, what's up, Chad?
The hell's shirt you got on? The hell is that?
Oh, it's my favorite new shirt. Hold on. Wait.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite new shirt.
Power. Oh, got it. Every time they score a run.
Yes.
Yeah, that thing. Got it.
Yes. It's the Mario shirt.
Got it. Yeah.
Shout out, no free ads, but shout out to GV Artwork because I think this is the best shirt they've ever made. This is awesome.
Yeah, no free ads. Although GV Derek, if you want to give us a call and sponsorship, give us a call at Mike and Michael Keevan, garagebeers@gmail.com.
The garagebeers@gmail.com.
I really felt like my age today, Mike. I was a little tired, but I usually work out at my lunch break.
Okay, humble brag
at work, right? But today I think it's the first time that I truly felt old because I went, I got to be up late tonight for the pod, or I could work out. Should I go take a nap in my car, or should I go work out? Yeah, I went with the nap because I'm gonna be up late tonight. Felt old. That's it. I mean, life is over. I mean, there's nowhere but down from here when I'm not working out and just taking naps in the middle of the day in my car.
Shut up, Chad. Normally I like to get a good pump in while I'm on my lunch break. Normally I like to get a good brag in.
16-inch pythons.
16-inch pythons. Just like Hulk Hogan's cousin Steve Hogan.
Half the size of his arms.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, it's about time you started feeling the way you look, Chad.
But yeah, it's about time.
Oh, buddy, I'm excited. Again, we got a great show. Later in the show, we're going to get into the Blue Jackets. We got the Olympics coming up, and we've always really had a good time covering the Olympics on this show. And we always get great special guests. Man, we've had crazy Olympians on this show, and the plan is to continue that. So we'll get into that because there's a little topic I want to talk about with the Olympics. And we just got a lot that we're going to get to. I'm gonna bring in our special guest first, though. We're going to get episode 219 kicked off right, and we're going to bring in our special guest. But I want to preface something here. I don't want people to think we're stupid.
Okay.
Stupider.
Stupid is as stupid does, is what Mom always says.
More stupider,
right,
than we normally are.
Right.
We're going to bring in our special guest. But listen, there was news that broke today, and it was huge news regarding the Cleveland Cavaliers. Our special guest can't talk about it because our special guest works for the Cavaliers, and this hasn't been officially announced yet. So we'll get to it later. We'll get to it a little bit later in the show. But we're not going to talk about it with our special guest, and I don't want people to be like, "Why are these idiots not talking about the biggest thing that happened today?"
But just know that we're aware. We're
going to get to it later.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to. This is our special guest today is just a great friend. A guy that has kind of served as a mentor to both of us, really, especially in the radio world and when we call our high school football and all that. And so we're not trying to get him in trouble. So we're going to bring him in, though. Now that we've got that out of the way, we're going to bring him in. You'll know him as the DJ from my wedding.
Yeah.
Or
everybody here remembers your wedding.
That's right.
Tim DJ'd. Yeah.
Or you may know him as the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's bring him in right now. It's Tim Alcorn. What's up, Tim?
Not too much, guys. Why do I feel like I should be on the WEOL mobile app when I hear your voices?
Yeah. Right? Stream 3. Everybody stream 3. And it'll be here before you know it.
If it's Michael Keefe and Chad Meyer, I'm listening on the WEOL mobile app to the Medina County matchup. And, man, you guys have had some awesome calls over the years. And, Michael, I thank you for your very kind words. And believe me, you guys do just fine on your own. You don't need my mentorship or guidance. You guys do an awesome job. Although I do have to say before we get started, I mean, Chad, you got a beautiful background there. You got the big tree. You got the sky.
Yeah.
Michael, you look like you're in an alleyway.
Yeah.
Like somebody's going to jump out.
That's the point. Alley. That's the goal. You never know what's going to happen. No. This is my little. It's my little.
Yeah.
I'm under the stairs. I'm under the stairs. These are the stairs right here. My wife surprised me with this one day. She turned this little under the stairs room into like a soundproof podcast room.
That white door behind me. That's actually the exact same thing. It's a door that goes to the area under the stairs. And I've talked about making that a studio.
See? All right. So you could design it to look however you want to, Tim. You can make it look like you're at SeaWorld if you want to.
I'd have a basketball hoop. And
yeah. I went with the you never know what's going to happen in this dark alley theme motif.
I like it.
Well, yeah.
Great to be with you guys.
Mike's actually between the corner alley and Pickwick and Frolic. Let's not kid anybody.
No free ads.
I can see that.
Yeah. Guardians just walked it off, boys. Here we are.
Did they walk it off? I texted my mom before we started. I said, hey, text me if the Guardians walk it off. So that text should be coming through any second. That's great. And that's great because, listen, we're going to get into the Guardians, but damn, the White Sox. Every year, there's those. It happens on both sides, right? In the MLB season, there's that team that you dominate that you can't explain. Like you just can't explain it. The Guardians will come out and just dominate the Yankees one year, and you'll be like, "That is you can't explain it." And then you have the team that you should dominate, and they kind of have your number. And the White Sox have played the Guardians tough this year, including today. So it's great to see them get the win. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Guardians with Tim. We're going to get into the Cavs with Tim because even though there's something we can't talk about, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about with Tim. But before we get into any of that, Tim Alcorn, before we get into any of that, we got to talk about our beers. It's Garage Beers. We have got our Garage Beers of the week. So, Tim, you said you might have some fun beers laying around the house because of your son. So let me know, what's your beer of the week this week?
All right, so you guys are like the connoisseurs of beers. I mean, I can't even begin.
100%.
Yes, but I have two sons, and they both enjoy different type of beers and so forth. So I went out to the fridge, and I found this one. BrewDog Mellow Laser Quest. It's an IPA, fierce, and this company, it's made in Ohio.
Yeah.
In Ohio.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give this one a try tonight.
Ooh, I'm surprised.
Are you familiar with this?
I've never had that specific beer, but I love BrewDog. BrewDog.
Okay. Well,
Tim, have you ever been there? Have you ever been to the place in the Flats, BrewDog? Yeah, it's great.
Awesome place. Awesome.
Yeah.
Place.
Oh, I'm interested in your reaction to this because I've never pegged you as an IPA guy.
I like it.
All right.
Wow.
Thumbs up. Yes.
Let's go.
So I'm now welcome on your show. That's my initiation.
It's about time. We've been hoping all these years, Tim. We've been waiting, and now you are officially welcome to the Garage
The
Beers.
BrewDog Mellow Laser Quest. Let me get that. There we go. BrewDog. I can tell I'm a radio guy. I'm not used to working with cameras. BrewDog Mellow Laser Quest. There you go. Yeah. Where the heck is that?
Oh, that's awesome. All right, Chad, what are you drinking?
Well, boys, tonight I'm having something I've never had before, and I don't know if any of you guys have. It's from Black Flag Brewing Company out there in Columbia, Maryland. I have never had. This is the Crispy Boy Rice Lager. I've never had a rice lager.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean it looks very light. Very refreshing. Probably, I'm guessing this is something that can be just straight crushable. So here we go.
That. I would try that.
Oh, I'm going to guess that's going to be super crushable.
Yeah. Yep. This is like you're on a boat or you're on the lake, you're at the beach, and you're just sitting there all day, 12 hours, and you could just kill a case of this thing. Not a case. Not that I would drink a case of beer. Nor have
as long as you're not driving the boat.
Drank a case of beer. But yeah, this is super smooth and good, guys. So yeah, recommend it if you ever find yourself in Columbia, Maryland.
I love that. All right. Shout out to that. You can tell that I had to put my daughter to sleep tonight, and I fell asleep on her floor and woke up in time to get down here because I forgot that we have a sponsor for Garage Beers of the Week this week. So before I give you my beer, let me hit the sponsor real quick. And our sponsor for Garage Beers of the Week is the Cleveland Tint Company. Born and raised in Cleveland, Cleveland Tint Company is the #1 place in Cleveland for your commercial, residential, or automotive window tinting needs. Listen, we're all trying to figure out ways to save money right now, especially this time of year. And as the sun beats in your windows and forces your AC to work overtime, your electric bill skyrockets. That's where Cleveland Tint Company comes in. At your home, at your business, in your car, the Cleveland Tint Company brings you the best product and service that you can find in all of Northeast Ohio. Nobody does window tinting better. The company with the only lifetime warranty in Cleveland, my buddy Paulie and the Cleveland Tint Company, 100% stands behind their work. Give Paulie a call today, 440-655-3213, or go to clevelandtint.com for more info. So now that we've officially done that, go check out Paulie at Cleveland Tint Company. Now it's time for my beer. And I'm going to the Vale. My brewery is called the Vale. It's out of Richmond, Virginia. It is it's an awesome brewery. When you can find them, they've got great beers. And this is called Doom Volume.
Whoa.
Ooh.
It's called Doom Volume.
Okay.
Wow.
And Doom Volume is, I don't even know what the hell I'm drinking.
A mystery beer.
It's a hazy.
Kind of fun.
It's a hazy IPA. It's a hazy IPA, as usual. It's not surprising. And that's what it looks like. Beautiful hazy IPA color.
You didn't tell me I was supposed to put it in a clear glass. I'm drinking it right out of the can.
Tim, you've been on the show 110 times.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Normally, we don't give you the rules because this is the first time I haven't seen you drink a Blue Moon.
Wow. All right. Well, when we reconvene here in the future, I'll be sure that it won't be a Blue Moon and it will be in a clear glass.
You know the CAVS preview episode is coming. Hey, I want to get a couple of these people in the comments. Aaron Williams over watching on Facebook, a Dunkel from Yeehaw Brewing from Johnson City, Tennessee.
Oh boy,
I've been to Johnson City. It's over there. It's out there. It is way east and way in the hills. So shout out to Johnson City. The Joe Gunn on Twitch may or may not have just found the last bourbon barrel aged Great Lakes Christmas sale in the back of the fridge. Let's go. that is the gift that keeps on giving, Clark.
Yeah, it is July.
Christmas sale still sitting there.
It is July. Christmas in July. Hello.
I thought Michael and Chad would mock me if I came down here with a Christmas sale.
No way.
Well,
There's no mocking.
The Joe Gunn.
No.
The Joe Gunn's got it. I do like that Joe in the comments here is having a whole conversation with himself. He says, may or may not have gone bad. Only one way to tell. Drink it, Joe. It never goes bad. It never goes bad. It's going to be delicious. If you're drinking a beer, if you're hanging out with us, get in the comments again, just like Aaron did, just like Joe did, and let us know what you are drinking. But boys, to you guys on the show, I say cheers. To you guys watching live or checking us out later, I say cheers. Now let's get into episode 219 of the Garage Beers podcast. I will also say real quickly, or conspicuously absent is our Joe. Joe Whalen has been working weird hours this week, so we're without Joe this week, but he'll be back next week. So
working London hours in Nashville. Yeah, I can't come on the show.
I think Joey just saw the signings that the Nashville Predators made and got hammered drunk.
Yeah, probably just very drunk. I would too. Honestly, I would hit up Broadway too if that happened. If I saw what my team just did.
Yeah, that's right. So Tim Alcorn, let's go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you were busy yesterday because yesterday was the official media press conference availability day for the new Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson. Man, let's talk about Kenny a little bit. First of all, Tim, the whole process has gone through. The Cavaliers part ways with JB Bickerstaff. They take their time on the search, and I don't know why people had a problem with it, but a lot of people seem to have a problem with the length of time they took with the search. I was not one of those people, but they land on Kenny Atkinson. How much time have you been able to share talking with Kenny so far, and just give us early impressions from your day yesterday and any conversations you've had with him?
Well, first of all, to respond to your comment, which I wholeheartedly agree with, if you are making a monumental decision that affects your company, your business, your basketball team, you are going to take your time. This was a huge hiring for the Cavaliers. They know that. Kenny Atkinson now knows that. This is not a hiring where, hey, if you can kind of keep us where we are right now, we'll be fine with that. No. Kenny Atkinson was brought in here with the expectation that we reached the Eastern Conference semifinals. The trajectory is on its way up. This is still a relatively young basketball team. You're charged with taking it to the next level. Well, that's Eastern Conference finals, or that's NBA finals. So the Cavaliers were methodical, but they had to make sure they got this right. Did they? Well, the record and everything else is going to determine that. But I will say, Kenny Atkinson, and yesterday was my first opportunity to meet him, as it was for everybody in Cleveland media, not counting when they covered him when he was the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. But that being said, he certainly was very impressive in that press conference. Now, granted, been the head coach in Brooklyn for 4 years, so he knows how to deal with media. If you can deal with New York media for 4 years, you can put together a very impressive press conference here in Cleveland. But he did just that. He was forthright. He was honest. He was engaged. He acknowledged the questions. So just from that standpoint, I was very impressed. I thought he came off very well. As he said, the first thing that he said to Kobe Altman was, I want this job. He was passionate about it, and he really went after the job. He believes in the roster. He believes in the potential. So I was very impressed with Kenny Atkinson. His resume speaks for itself. We mentioned the 4 years in Brooklyn, and I'm sure we'll get into this after he stepped aside or was let go in Brooklyn, the 1 year with Tyronn Lue with the Clippers, and then the last 3 years with Steve Kerr in Golden State. You talk about two minds, two basketball coaches that you can absorb a lot of knowledge from, Tyronn Lue and Steve Kerr. That's not too bad to spend your last 4 years with. But you can also tell he's anxious. He wants to get back in that head coaching chair, and he thinks this is an incredible opportunity for him.
Now, Tim, to the casual basketball fans out there, the guys that the people that might not pay as much attention to basketball, to the people that might just think Kenny Atkinson just looks like Pat Riley's cousin, what are some of the differences that we might be able to expect to see between Kenny Atkinson's style and JB Bickerstaff's style?
Well, one of the things that I did, we'll get to that in a minute, Chad, but one of the things that I did, I wanted to find out a little bit about who's going to be the Cavs head coach. I'm going to be working with this gentleman here for, let's hope, several seasons to come, both on his end and mine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I reached out to some folks in Atlanta, even where he was before the Brooklyn job, when he was with Mike Budenholzer down in Atlanta. Talked to some folks there, talked to some Brooklyn people in Golden State, and said, tell me about this guy. And the one thing that every person said to me, without knowing that I had talked to somebody else, was player development. He is amazing with player development as far as what he can bring out of players that think they may have reached their best or reached their peak, but he'll find something else, especially with young basketball players. So player development. If you go back to when he was at Brooklyn, and I asked him this during the press conference yesterday, his 4 years in Brooklyn, they were at or near the top of the NBA in both pace and 3 balls attempted. He wants to get up and down that floor, and he wants his team to launch 3 balls. That's the whole analytic world of the NBA. But, hey, who won the championship this year? The Boston Celtics. How'd they do it? Shooting a lot of three balls. So you're gonna follow that model. Now, I'm not saying we have the roster of the Boston Celtics or that we're ready to compete for the NBA Finals. But that being said, you're going to see a lot of three balls. You're going to see more motion. You're going to see a faster-paced Cavalier basketball team. You're not going to see a lot of pick and rolls, and you're not going to see a lot of 24-second shot clock violations.
Yeah, I'm going to backtrack, and it's not necessarily specifically about Kenny Atkinson, but it's just the way you just answered that question, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. You did a thing that I think we're really used to doing here in Cleveland, which is kind of like backtracking a little bit. Like, hey, I don't know if we're ready for this or that. Don't they have to be, Tim? Don't they? Like, listen, you got to the Eastern Conference semifinals. You have an offseason now to kind of mold the roster. You have an offseason. You fired your head coach. You brought in a new head coach. Isn't the expectation that you're going out there to compete for titles like that? They have to be, don't they?
Well, I meant expectation insofar as winning the NBA title, like the Boston Celtics did. Now, the expectation is to get beyond where we've been. Well, that's the Eastern Conference semifinals. So what's beyond that? Eastern Conference finals and NBA finals. So, yes, I accept your point. This is not a job, and Kenny Atkinson walks into the job realizing I'm not here for status quo. I'm here to get us to the next level. So, with the likes of the core four and some of the guys that are being brought back, and we'll see what sort of other roster manipulations there are. They believe that they have the roster. They believe that they have the lineup that can compete with the best in the Eastern Conference, and they expect that. So, again, I wasn't trying to misconstrue as far as the expectations. I just said I'm not sure if they're ready to say we're going to win an NBA championship this year, but we're going to. The expectation and the goal is to get beyond where we've been. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's. I just think it's interesting because I think when your season ends a certain way, like the Cavs did, losing the last 3 games of the series to Boston, going down in 5 games, a gentleman's sweep, if you will. I think sometimes you kind of forget. Or especially, including after that series they had with Orlando, that slugfest of a series they had with Orlando, I think sometimes it gets put down what the Cavaliers did this year, and including all that they had to work around, injuries and guys that didn't play great basketball all year, and they made it to the Eastern Conference semis, and they lose to the eventual NBA champions who – they only dropped 1 game in 3 of the 4 series they played. They swept the Pacers. I guess my point in that wasn't to call you out for saying that. It's just like, that's where the expectations need to be at this point. The roster is at a point where it's good enough in a tough year to get to the Eastern Conference semifinals. The expectation needs to be, okay, Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals. Like, this needs to be a championship team over the next several years. That's what you're building for, right?
I would agree with that. Boy, there's so many different paths I can go down as far as your question is concerned. So maybe I'll go about halfway on each path. No, because you bring up a lot of good points. Do I think that the Cavs advancing to the Eastern Conference semis is overlooked or diminished? And I would say absolutely yes. That Orlando series, to your point, a slugfest, a backyard brawl. You use whatever analogy you want to. That was a 7-game brawl. And the Cavs earned their way to the Eastern Conference semifinals. And look out for Orlando as far as next year and the years beyond are concerned. That's a team on the rise. So you get to the Eastern Conference semis, you take on Boston. And again, Boston won the NBA title. I take nothing away from Boston. 64 wins. Their stats were off the charts. And I hate what ifs, but I'm telling you, I have a what if that I think I'll have forever if Jared Allen had been healthy, if Donovan Mitchell had been healthy. I'm not saying they would have beat Boston, but I think that series goes deeper than 5 games. I really do. I think Jared Allen would have had a huge series. He was the best player for the Cavaliers in that Orlando series before he missed the final couple of games. Jared Allen had been dominant in the series against the Magic, and I think it was a better, on paper, matchup for him in that Boston series. again, Boston won the series. Injuries are part of it. But I think if you look back and say, man, if we had Jared, if we had Donovan, could that thing have gone 6 or 7 games? And now who's the pressure on? Now the pressure's on Boston. So, yes, I think it is diminished as far as what they accomplished against Orlando. I also think, I'm not big on asterisk, but there's a little bit of an asterisk as far as losing in 5 games to Boston, not taking away anything from the Celtics. And to your point, Mike, yeah, I do. I believe that the expectations are high. This Cavalier organization, they're not making any bones about it. They're in to win. Now, again, the Eastern Conference is getting better by everything we've heard in the last couple of days and reported deals and so on and so forth. So, once again, this year, that Eastern Conference, to use a term I used earlier, is going to be a slugfest. I mean, you got the world champs in Boston, you got Philly now with Paul George, you got Orlando on the rise, you got Milwaukee. I mean, you can just keep rattling them off. So, but the Cavs' expectation is to be in the thick of that thing come May.
Yeah, it's now I liked hearing what you were saying about Boston, how that series might have gone deeper, Tim, because I was talking to Mike about it in the playoffs. Like when Boston reached the finals, it felt like, and you know, you mentioned how the East is getting better. It felt like during this playoff run, and I know it's crazy to say, even though you know they beat the Cavs in 5, they swept Indiana. It felt to me like Boston escaped more of those games in the East rather than they just they outright won them. Like outside of the Miami series, they just dominated Miami. But between the Cavs, between Indiana, I just it just felt like that. You know, those teams were right there in a lot of those games.
Well, I talked about you don't like what ifs. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Chad.
No. So, well, I mean, I was going to get into the next question, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, as far as what ifs, you know,
yeah.
we can sit here and say, what if with Jared? What if with Donovan? Man, if you're Indiana, there's a lot of what ifs. You know, what if they don't hit that corner 3 ball in game 1? I mean, Indiana had them on the ropes in a couple of games. That should not have been a 4-game sweep. So, and again, I hope this isn't coming off as diminishing to Boston. I don't mean it that way.
No.
There's a reason they won those games.
Absolutely. Right.
Diminished them because Boston doesn't deserve any more championships.
Yeah, shut up, Boston. If you feel diminished, good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, listen, they won their 18th championship, and this group had been together a long time, and they climbed their way to the top. But you look at that Cavs series, and boy, if you're Indiana, you're looking at a couple of those games kicking yourself. Like, wow, we had them on the ropes. We had them.
Now, I wanted to my question I kind of wanted to lead into here, Tim, and it's kind of a fastball out over the middle of the plate, I feel. You know, you talked about Kenny, and you talked about the people that you talked to throughout the league, and they said player development. So you take a look at this Cavs roster, and who, like, if you're Kenny Atkinson, like, who's the first person you're going after?
Evan Mobley.
Standpoint.
You grooved it right down the middle, Chad.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Home run.
Swing and a drive.
Run.
Yeah. No, and listen, there's no arguing that. It's Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley is a number 3 pick in the draft a few years ago. Came out as an elite defender, and you hoped and knew there was going to be an ascension at the offensive level. He's got to take it to another level on the
big
offense.
time.
Yeah.
And I think when you see the track record of Kenny Atkinson and what he's been able to do with guys as far as their offensive play, that has to excite you as far as Evan Mobley is concerned. One of the things that, even though it really hurt to have Jared out in that Boston series, was seeing what Evan Mobley can really do. That 33-point Game 5 performance, I mean, he was unstoppable. But to get to your question about who do you really point at, I would say Evan Mobley first and foremost. Getting DG back to the level where he was a couple of years ago when he reached the All-Star game.
Yes.
And then I was talking earlier to a couple of people, didn't get mentioned in the press conference, and I didn't think they would, but player development and growth. I'm really excited to see what Kenny can do with Craig Porter Jr. and Sam Merrill, especially if they're going to be unloading 3 balls. Sam Merrill could be a lethal weapon. Think about what, and I don't want to go on too long because you guys have questions, but think about what Kenny Atkinson did with Joe Harris in Brooklyn. That guy was draining threes from everywhere when he played for the Nets, and he didn't have as talented a cast around him as Sam Merrill has here. Sam Merrill could become the Cavs version of Joe Harris, just a 3-ball threat that'll just shoot the lights out.
And that's the thing this team just has missed for quite a few years. Is just I've said, I think I've said it for probably since 2014, maybe, that this team, no, maybe not 14. But anyway, like, just I want guys where when the ball leaves their hands, I know there's a good chance it's going in. And Sam Merrill is that guy, or he can be that guy. So, yeah, I really hope to see that.
Yeah, well, it's to talk. Oh, go ahead. I'm just going to say real quick, man. I haven't had a chance to talk or communicate with Sam, but I would think when Kenny Atkinson was announced as the head coach, he was on fire because, again, the offense that Kenny Atkinson ran in Brooklyn and has said openly that's what I'm going to run, that's going to be a huge benefit to a Sam Merrill.
No, it's very interesting to me too, Tim, because I love hearing that. I got nothing. I don't have any bad things to say about JB Bickerstaff. I was a fan of his. I wanted him to coach here for a long time. But eventually, an old school way of coaching, it's really good for a young developing team. And sometimes it can get stagnant with a team that's kind of developed and you need a kick in another direction. And that's what Kenny Atkinson is. But I think something that we learned, and I'll be really interested, and Tim, just share your thoughts on this. I'm really interested to find out how he deals with, he got asked in the press conference about the two big man situation, about having two big men that aren't necessarily stretch players, outside shooters, whatever. And I think when you saw Evan Mobley really start to assert himself offensively in that Boston series, especially when Jared Allen was out, he didn't feel like he had to be out on the perimeter. He didn't feel like he was trying to. It's unnatural to me when I watch him play basketball, and you watch every minute of him playing basketball. It feels unnatural to use him as a stretch player. He's not a stretch player. It's not what he is. And so what is the area I would love to see? Here's what I would love, and then you let me know your thoughts. I would love to see them say, okay, maybe if you're randomly open for a three-pointer, fine, take it, whatever. But, like, maybe let's work on developing an elbow jumper that's just automatic from Evan Mobley. And that way he can still use his post moves, but he still has that little step-back ability. I don't know. I thought they were trying to force him under the last group to kind of be something that he wasn't sometimes. And I think you saw what he can be in the playoffs. I don't know. Your thoughts on Kenny Atkinson and his philosophy to maybe notice that and say we don't have to make him a stretch player. We can just develop him a different way.
Well, again, Kenny has said this is my philosophy. This is what I want to do, and his track record is player development. So he's going to pour over that game video, and it's not film anymore, but he's going to pour over it for hours and days and weeks on end. And then when he gets Evan in the gym, then the determination will be made. What do I see as your strengths? What do I see as something that can be improved, that can be developed? I mean, think about here's another Brooklyn Net example. Think about when Brook Lopez was with the Nets. I mean, he couldn't hit a three ball to save his life. And all of a sudden he gets involved in Kenny Atkinson's offense, and Brook Lopez becomes an elite three ball shooter for a big man. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with Evan, but there's a track record there of Kenny Atkinson working with a guy to develop that game. So I'm not ready to say that Evan Mobley is going to become Kevin Durant and start knocking three balls, left and right.
You heard it here first. Tim said Kevin Durant.
I'm not saying that, but I do think they're going to look at Evan's perimeter game. But one of the things that Kenny said yesterday as well was getting out and running the floor and playing at a quicker pace. And he thinks Evan Mobley is a fast guy that can get out and finish on breaks. He wants his big men to run the floor. So it's going to be intriguing, believe me. I'll be watching very, very closely in training camp and preseason. And again, this will be a work in progress. But the key to Evan Mobley is to get him to believe in what Kenny Atkinson is trying to have him do. And all indications are Kenny gets through to his players. And I think Evan will be very receptive to it.
I know we're talking about it a lot, Tim, and I know Evan Mobley is just going to be the hot button topic a lot, but it's the truth. Again, being the third pick notwithstanding, you and I spent a minute at the beginning of this interview talking about where the trajectory of this team needs to go. It needs to be better than it was last year. It needs to keep improving. And you're going to have Donovan Mitchell out there, and you're going to have Darius Garland out there, and you're going to have Jared Allen out there. And I think a big part of it does fall on Darius Garland being better, because it's 2 years in a row now that he's, first of all, broken his face and not really been able to come back from it. So, dear NBA, stop breaking Darius Garland's face. But it really does feel like the crux of this situation is Evan Mobley. If you can turn this dude, they used a lot of words to describe him when they drafted him. They used unicorn was the big one. If you can get Evan Mobley
athletic, versatile,
to that level where he is a threat, he's not just a guy that wow, he had that 133-point game, but he is a threat offensively. It changes the entire trajectory of the team. It puts them square. If he can become that kind of a threat, it puts them square in the NBA championship picture.
Well, again, I hate to keep hearkening back to the press conference, but Kenny Atkinson said yesterday in Independence, listen, Evan Mobley is and should be an all-star level player. He needs to play at that level. So he obviously sees something there already. But to your point, and Michael, I agree, he has to play at that level for the Cavaliers to get to the conference finals, to get to the NBA finals. Evan Mobley is going to be a huge part of that. And he may have to be the best player on the team to get them to that point. Right now, Donovan Mitchell is. But that
one of the best players on the team.
Who?
I was going to say it's going to be hard to overcome Donovan Mitchell, but he's got to be up there.
But think about the fact that Evan Mobley's still only 22 years old.
It's wild.
Right? So, and not that Donovan's an old guy, he's 27, but Evan Mobley still has those years to progress and get better.
Yes.
So you bring in a coach who, again, has that history and has it on his resume, and everybody talks about his strength being player development. So if he could do what he did with Brook Lopez when he was an aging veteran, I say look at Evan Mobley and let's see what he can do with this young basketball player.
Well, when he becomes Kevin Durant, like you said, Tim, it's just gonna be amazing.
Correct.
It's gonna be we're making it to the final. I'm just kidding with you.
Yeah.
But speaking of,
if I answer the next text, okay, go ahead.
Oh, hey, Chad, real quick before you go to the next thing, we got a question in the comments that I want to get to, and then you go to the next thing because it's still about Evan Mobley. Tim, our buddy Brown's Bandito, wants to know what you think of the comment about Mobley, like being a guy that brings the ball down the court in transition. That was, again, it's such a big part of the press conference yesterday was focusing on Mobley, and it's something that Kenny Atkinson talked about. We want the ball in this guy's hands coming down the floor in transition. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's interesting. Again, Kenny Atkinson, I believe, is going to go into training camp and preseason with an open book and an open mind, saying, what can I do to get this team to the next level? We talked about the athleticism of Evan Mobley. He is an athlete. He makes good decisions on the floor. People often ask me about the Max Strus half-court shot to beat Dallas. You forget about the fact Mobley gave the ball up. He could have turned around and heaved it to the basket. And in that split second, he thought, no, Max Strus. No, but I'm serious. He made the decision. That's a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Max Strus has a better chance of making a half-court shot than I do. So he makes smart plays. He is athletic. Again, when he was drafted, and Michael, you use the adjectives to describe him, but you tend to forget he was a hell of a soccer player. He's got footwork. So, having Evan bring the ball up, that wouldn't surprise me. I think the NBA is going to more of a positionless type league. So if that frees up Donovan and Darius at the other end, if Evan shows he's capable of doing it, I think they'll let him do it.
Yeah. Now, Tim, have you had reached out to any players and have gotten any sort of sense of what they think of the hire?
I have not talked to any of the players yet. No.
Wow. hello, hi, welcome.
Wow.
It's my first time doing this. This is my first time doing this. Everybody, leave me alone.
I didn't mean to leave you speechless. Mike.
Mike have a stroke on air,
I
everybody.
think he was waiting for a longer answer. No.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. No. Just to go back to the press conference real quick, and then I do want to kind of move on because there's only so much we can say about Kenny Atkinson other than he did great in his press conference, which we've seen a lot of people in Cleveland win press conferences and then not. But the proof's going to be in the pudding. But the way the man talks and the way that he feels so open to just bring things up. I thought one of the great lines that he had in that press conference, Tim, which, again, a guy without a ton of head coaching experience, he had 4 years in Brooklyn, but the way he just kind of stepped out and said, listen, I want to be there for my players. Mm-hmm. I want them to know that I'm there for them. I want to get them paid. I love when he said that in that press conference. I want to get these guys paid on their next contract. Man, listen, these players are out there playing because they love basketball and because they're naturally gifted at it and they've worked really hard at it and all that stuff. But if you're a player listening to that press conference and you hear your brand new head coach, you may not even talk to yet. But if you hear your head coach go, I'm here to get these guys paid, I'm here to get them that next contract, that's an auto check mark right there, right? That's just auto check mark.
Absolutely. And I mentioned that I had reached out to, some people, not that I have all these sources in the NBA, but that at least had interacted and know Kenny pretty well. And they said, you're going to love him as a media guy and as the play-by-play guy, but the players are really going to embrace him. He's a player's coach. He's tough on them. I mean, there isn't anybody that I talked to that said, he takes it easy on them with kid gloves. No, but they all know that he has their best interest at heart, that he wants to make them better. And again, the proof is in his track record as far as who he has made better. It's one thing to say, this guy's a player development guy, and you go, well, give me an example. And then you do what Michael Keefe just did. You have stone dead silence, right? But
just total blank.
There are examples. There are examples of guys that Kenny Atkinson has been directly involved with or directly coached that he made better basketball players. And to your point, Michael, that's what gets them to paychecks. So, I like that too. I thought that was great. And the other thing that I thought was really cool was when he talked about how much he soaked in from Tyronn Lue and Steve Kerr, two championship coaches. And he worked for a championship coach in Budenholzer down in Atlanta. Now, he didn't win it in Atlanta. He won it with Milwaukee. So he's been around championship coaches, and he wasn't a guy that said, I tried to impart all my ideas on them. I'm listening to them. I'm soaking in what they're doing. I'm watching what they're doing. And he readily admitted, again, he was so honest in the press conference yesterday. As I sat with Steve Kerr and watched him do some things, my mind thought back to Brooklyn. I could have done that differently.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had handled it like Steve just did. So he's learning, and he learned from Brooklyn. Then he learned as far as the 4 years being an assistant coach. So he brings all that knowledge and all that experience to the bench here in Cleveland. I think it's a home run of a hire.
And that's the other thing that gets me excited. And that to me, again, without knowing how it's going to go, but I do think in basketball specifically, a coach is about as important as in any other sport. Mm-hmm. And you can actually see their fingerprints on the game as much as any other sport. Mm-hmm. A guy that had a taste of a head coaching job and did well, objectively did pretty well in a tough situation in Brooklyn.
He had the same trajectory that the Cavs had with JB.
Correct.
From 20 to 40. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Objectively took a bad roster and started making the team better. And then Brooklyn started going different directions and they parted ways. And to go and get that tutelage under Lue and Kerr and all that, I'm very excited for a guy who has had success. He wasn't just a dumpster fire failure in Brooklyn. That's not why he got fired. He had success in Brooklyn. He knows what it's like to lose that job. And he understands that you don't necessarily have to be a dumpster fire to lose your job. There's a lot of things that could cause you to lose your job. So he understands the value of the job. And he's still willing to say, I need to get better. I need to learn. I was soaking this up. I could do this and that differently. I'm so excited to watch this guy coach the Cavaliers. I'm so excited for that reason.
Yeah, and I think Cavs fans should be as well. I think it's going to be an exciting brand of basketball. It's going to be a little bit different, and I think they're going to love his passion. I mean, you could just feel it oozing from him. Like, man, he's ready to get going.
All right, you heard it from Tim Alcorn. Kenny Atkinson, passionate, exciting, and about to turn Evan Mobley into Kevin Durant straight out of Tim Alcorn's mouth. So excited about it.
If there's anything we learned from this interview, from this conversation.
Hey, Tim, the other big thing that happened outside of the Cavs finding their head coach, the other big thing that happened, I love the stories that he was telling too. It just, the timing of the whole thing was fascinating. Right. It's fascinating, right? You get offered the job as the head coach. You're in France when Kobe Altman calls him. He's in France because he's coaching Team France. He's got to jump on a plane and get over here. He gets here in time to what? Sit in the draft room?
Right.
And be like, yeah, I guess I kind of like that guy. Yeah, like, all right. Yeah, cool. But the NBA draft happens, and the Cavaliers have a first-round pick. It's the 20th overall pick in the draft. And they use it on a kid named Jalen Tyson, a 6'6" wing player out of Cal by way of Texas Tech and Texas. And Jalen Tyson is the newest Cavalier. So just early impressions. I don't know if you've had a chance to either speak with Jalen Tyson, interview him at all, and what you've heard from the organization on what made that kid with the other guys that were on the board there, that I think that a lot of people were talking about some other players that were still on the board there for the Cavaliers, and they go with Jalen Tyson. What was it about Jalen Tyson that made the Cavaliers say that's our guy?
Well, first of all, he fits a need. The old debate: do you draft best player available? Do you draft for need? I'm not saying the Cavaliers bypassed the best player available, because I think they believe he was the best player available at that time, and he was projected mid-late first round. So falling to 20 was about where most people thought Jalen would be. He can shoot it. I mean, he is a shooter. Now, he was a shooter being the ball dominant guy at Cal. The viewer asked earlier about Evan bringing ball up the floor. Well, that's what Jalen was doing at Cal. He was bringing it up. He was shooting it. I mean, yeah, he was a one-man gang out there. But he can shoot it. He's a terrific jump shooter. So that 3-and-D guy that can knock down shots. He bounced around a little bit, but his season at Cal was just outstanding. And the other thing about Jalen, to me, that really stands out is the fact that he's another athletic wing. The Cavaliers need athletic wings, and if you're going to play in Kenny Atkinson's style, it sounds as though you're going to have to be athletic. You're going to have to move, and he was able to do that at Cal. He has shown that. So I think it was a good pick. Again, when you're drafting 20. You've got to see how that board falls. You got to see what's going to be available for you. But listen, it's a first round draft choice, and I think the Cavaliers are intent on having Jalen be some sort of contributor this year.
I liked in Kenny's interview, they were asking him about Jalen, and he said the person that he talked to was the head coach of Cal, Mark Mad Dog Madsen, for those of you that remember Mark Madsen. And I love the confidence Mark Madsen says when that new head coach of the Cavaliers calls him the head coach of Cal. Mark Mad Dog Madsen says, "Oh, he's going to be in your rotation this year." Like, point blank, he is part of your rotation. And Kenny was like, "Wait, all right, hold on." Right.
Fine. Sorry, I was leaned back in a chair sleeping on my way from France. So if you could just let me know.
Yeah. By the way, I was thinking of the fact that if we had done one of these while I was in France with the Cavs in January, it would have been 3 a.m. over there. I would have said no to your text.
No, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have, Tim. No, you wouldn't have. You would have done it
because you've been sleeping.
Tim would have been on his 14th glass of Bordeaux, and we would have been having a real good time.
Yeah, that'd been awesome.
No doubt.
Those wine teeth.
So, I mean, I guess my final curiosity here, Tim, is you take a look at the NBA offseason and free agency so far. what teams do you like what they've done, and what teams could be, dangerous coming out of this?
Well, Chad, there's a moratorium as far as what hasn't officially been announced yet. But certainly, the reports about
with
the
other teams too. With other teams too. Never mind.
We mentioned Paul George. No, we mentioned Paul George, and some of the other things. How about the one that caught my attention, Hartenstein going down to OKC for $87 million. I mean, that's just crazy. But
he was with us. He was with us.
Right, just 2 years
$87 million.
Right.
Son of a bitch.
Well, I mentioned earlier, listen, the East is going to be a dogfight, right? I mean, Orlando has improved their roster. And again, they took us 7 games. Boston wins it all. Philly signs Paul George. It's there hasn't really been that huge move, at least reported so far, that you go, holy smokes, but it's been interesting enough that you go, okay, there's obviously Klay Thompson ending up in Dallas. I mean, for Golden State fans, that's kind of an earth-shattering move. But, in the end, and it's interesting. I asked Kenny yesterday, the very last question of the press conference. I said, you're thrilled to be here, whatever, but Boston wins it. And I rattled off, the other moves that have been reportedly made with the moratorium, but the other moves that have been made. And I thought he gave a great answer. He said, yes, we're going to look at what the other teams are doing, but we're Cavs centric.
Yeah.
You can't lose focus on, what did the Knicks do? Mikal Bridges, what did Philly do? Hey, I got to worry about this team and how to get this team to that next level. I thought it was a great answer.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting. And again, we can't talk about things until moratoriums end, but just assuming the Cavs are going into next year with a very similar roster currently, because that's who was already under contract. So there's no moratorium on that. Assuming the Cavs are going into next year with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley and Max Strus and guys, Karis LeVert, and that, and we're going to find out. I mean, there's been a lot of rumors that have floated around the Cavaliers this offseason regarding guys and where they're going to go and what they're going to do. But do you think, this is my last question on the Cavs, and I do want to talk Guardians with you for a little bit. Do you think any move they make this offseason would be bigger than the move that they made to bring in Kenny Atkinson as the head coach?
No, I don't. I think, again, the new coach hire was first and foremost because it was going to impact other things that would happen. And I'm not saying if they had gone in a different direction with the head coach, that may have flipped things. I'm simply saying the first thing they had to do, and we talked about this when we started, be methodical, be absolutely 100% sure this is the guy. And so that was first and foremost. And then other chips, will fall in line. Other dominoes will come into play.
And do you think, and this is not to slight JB Bickerstaff at all, because he did good things here. He did really good things here. And he did good things here because he's a head coach again. He's in Detroit. He stayed in the division and he's the head. Well, I don't know if there's a moratorium on that. I don't know if they've announced. I don't know. I have no idea how any of this works, Tim, but he's coaching again. Not to shade JB at all, but this roster with the right head coach, it just feels like I think a lot of people are out there clamoring for moves just for the sake of moves. They like trades. They like action. They like moves. I don't know. I think there's some things that could happen with this roster, but in my opinion, it's more about bolstering depth and getting the right guys that come off the bench in certain areas. And there's still plenty of time to do that. But there's this core 4 group of guys. I wouldn't touch it.
Well, that certainly was the opinion and the impression that Kobe Altman gave during the press conference when he announced that JB was getting let go, that he was absolutely adamant that we're going to keep the core 4 together.
Yeah.
And he talked about Boston as an example to say, listen, Jalen and Jason in Boston, they didn't win it in their second year or third year or fourth year. They just kept adding some pieces here and there, and he thinks they have the right pieces in place. But a cake's not done in 10 minutes. It takes 25 or 30 minutes. And so you've got to let things play itself out. Mike, you mentioned all the way back when we started, they were 18-10 with that core four together. The good news is they were 18-10. The bad news is it was only 1/3 of the season.
Right.
So if you say, okay, well, multiply that by 3, they've been together all year, that's 54 wins. So again, I don't think you just say, well, this isn't working. But I'll quibble a little bit with the way you worded your question in the sense of, was JB the right coach? I think he was the right coach to get them where they are now.
Fair.
And it's not that they replaced JB, that Kenny's a better coach. He's a different coach.
Yes.
He's a different coach with a different vision, and perhaps he'll tweak things. He is going to tweak things differently than JB did. To your point, I have zero negative things to say about JB Bickerstaff. I don't.
Yeah.
I thought he did a hell of a job. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
For what he inherited, to take that team, the numbers, again, 22, 44, 51, Eastern Conference semis. JB did a phenomenal job. But I think just a different set of eyes to say, let's try this. Let's try this. It happens.
Yeah, I love it. Cavs giving us stuff to talk about. There's going to be more stuff to talk about in the next couple of days with the Cavaliers, but we'll get there. Tim, I want to take as we kind of get towards the back half of our show, we usually get into what we call our quick hitters, where we just kind of touch on certain topics that have happened around the sports world. And I thought, hey, let's keep you on just for a little bit, and let's talk about these Cleveland Guardians because we're at a point now, Tim, where you've become a trusted person over there with the Cleveland Guardians. Tom Hamilton, I don't know, once or twice a year, doesn't make it on a road trip. And so there's Tim Alcorn down in Miami in the radio booth, his sultry voice calling the action for the Cleveland Guardians, man. How cool is that to do that every year? Or the couple of years that you've done it?
Yeah, it was just awesome. I mean, you get a phone call saying, Hammy's going to take some games off, as you just alluded to, and how would you like to make that trip to Miami? And listen, I consider myself a sportscaster. I mean, I'm honored, I'm blessed to do the Cavaliers, but as you guys know, you go out, I'll go out there and call anything, and I love calling baseball. I absolutely love calling baseball, and so. For the Guardians to have the confidence in me and the faith in me to say, yeah, he can carry a few innings while Hammy's away. That's a real honor to me. And you're right. It was just a blast. Indoor baseball was a little odd. I'll tell you, that took some getting used to. It's just a whole different dynamic and a whole different atmosphere. And the pitch clock, it's amazing as a sportscaster, because the last few times I had done Guardians games, there's no pitch clock, and Rosie and I are talking, and the guy's out there scratching his ear or whatever. And now it's like, it's moving. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to go back, maybe an extra inning game or two, but there can't be a lot of 3-hour games in the Guardians books this year. Yeah, that game has shortened up. It has quickened.
It's nice.
But I loved it. Again, I'm so honored that they asked me to do it.
I'm sure they had to twist your arm pretty hard to get you to go down to Miami for 3 days. Huh?
Do you have viewers in Miami? Do you have your list up? Because I'll tell you what.
Where's OJ McDuffie at?
I don't know if I'd live there in the summer, man. Yeah. Oh, that heat is
rough,
just brutal.
Hey, I think the next time Tony Brown can't call a game for the Monsters, they should get you on over there.
Listen, I did a social media post a couple of weeks ago. Our
I
good
saw
friend,
it.
Doug Plagans, former voice of the Monsters, was a phenomenal voice for the Cleveland Monsters. He left the Monsters to become the NHL voice of the Florida Panthers. To me, hockey guys are just elite. How they call hockey, Chad, I know you're both hockey guys, huge hockey guys. I tip my cap, especially hockey on radio. I mean, it's a tough game to follow on television, but you can do it. But radio hockey guys, they're elite broadcasters.
Well, thank you, Tim. I did it for 2 years with on the minor league level in Youngstown, so it is very hard, and I appreciate you.
Shut the hell up. You were like the boom goes the dynamite kid when you called. He passes it to the man, and boom goes the dynamite.
I was not. I was very good at it. Thank you very much.
Goes the dynamite.
Yeah.
I may have to drop that in on a Garland 3-ball next year.
Let's go. He passes it to the man, and boom goes the dynamite.
But no, Chad, seriously, I mean, the line changes. There's only numbers on the back, I believe. It's like, wow, the puck is ricocheting constantly. How do you call it, man? That's tough.
There was my first 10, 11 games. I called guys by their hair. Like I knew guys by their hair. Like a lot of these guys had mullets or long hair. Like I just knew them by that.
Puck goes over to medium lettuce, gets swung over to long curly lettuce.
Right.
All right. So quick hitter on the Guardians. We saw the Guardians won tonight in walk-off fashion at home against the White Sox. And some interesting things going on with the Guardians. Again, a little bit of a tough stretch there in Kansas City as they dropped 3 of 4 to the Kansas City Royals. However, we're sitting here exactly halfway through their season, and the Guardians have one of the best records in baseball. And it's been a wild turn of events, and your buddy Jim Rosenhaus kind of called it with us before the season. He said he thinks the offense is going to be much better, and boy, has the offense been better. They're top 10 in home runs. They are scoring runs left and right. They have no issues. These guys are unbelievable. Steven Kwan's one of the best leadoff hitters in the game. Josh Naylor and Jose Ramirez are both on pace for 40 home runs this year, and they're getting contributions from, look at David Fry out of the woodwork, just being one of their best hitters. But it's been the pitching. And this has been the most fascinating thing to watch, Tim, because you've got this organization that is, nobody would argue with you if you said the Cleveland Guardians are the best, if not a top 3 organization in developing pitchers and putting them in the right spots and making sure they fit in the right place. And this starting rotation has been unbelievably challenging for them this year, whether it's been injuries to guys like Shane Bieber, who was off to such a great start, or whether it's it was terrible, or whether it's Carlos Carrasco just trying to kind of figure it out at the tail end of his career. Tristan McKenzie really not being able to figure it out. They just optioned him down to AAA. They've had to find these ways to just kind of piece this together. We just saw them option Tristan down to AAA. Gavin Williams is activated and he's ready to go. They signed Matthew Boyd. I don't know. Just talk about your impressions of kind of how they've handled a situation where we've seen since 2013, 14, 15, that pitching rotation has been the one thing you haven't had to even question with this team. And now they've got to really piece it together. How do you think they've handled it?
Well, so far, I think they've handled it very, very well because of the way they've handled the bullpen. I mean, you're not getting 6, 7, 8 innings out of your starter. You're getting 4, maybe 5 out of your starter. And I think Stephen Vogt, and I'm sure Carl Willis has a lot to do with this, have been masterful at manipulating that bullpen. Certainly, you're worried that, man, how many nights can you throw 3, 4, 5 relievers out there? At some point, you've got to get more innings. You've got to get more length out of your starters. So I'm sure as the trade deadline approaches, that's something that's going to be at the top of their list because make no mistake, the Guardians are going to be buyers. They're going to be buyers. So starting pitching. Now, everybody wants starting pitching. It's not like, the Guardians are the only ones that need starting pitching. Hemi and Rosie talk about it all the time. You think you have too much pitching, go get more. And when you go get more, try to get some more. I mean, you never have too much pitching. And because of what you just referenced, Mike, I mean, Shane Bieber's gone for the year. Tristan McKenzie just can't seem to find it. You've got to have depth. And so, but the way they've been able to maneuver and navigate through the issues with the starting pitchers, I think Stephen Vogt, and by the way, talked about Kenny Atkinson, a great hire. My goodness, did the Guardians just nail it with the hiring of Stephen Vogt. But the way he, and I'm sure as a catcher who's used to working with pitchers, he's having a lot of conversations with those guys. Carl Willis, I think he's the PhD of pitching coaches. It's just incredible, his track record. And Michael, as you alluded to, the history as far as the Guardians developing pitchers. So it's amazing what they've been able to do with all of these challenges. And but Gavin, he gets to start tomorrow night. I love Gavin Williams. You talk about
so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm glad he's back for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be a huge addition. Listen, if Tristan can go down and kind of get things straightened out down there, I'm sure that was a difficult conversation to have. But again, one thing that going back to Kenny Atkinson and his honesty and relating to players, and he talked about it at the press conference. And I think voters the same way. Stephen Vogt, listen, it's tough to have conversations like that. I've been cut, meaning Stephen Vogt. I've been sent down. I know what that feels like. But you got to have those conversations. This is Major League Baseball. So hopefully Tristan can get it back together. But if this team can get that starting rotation intact, the bullpen has been lights out. As you guys alluded to, the offense has just been fantastic. There could definitely be, as Hammy would say, some October baseball.
I'm so happy that they're just exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Because Tim last year was brutal.
Brutal.
But the offense coming back, I at the beginning of the year I said I would.
How fun is Stephen Kwan, man?
So
the funnest. He's the funnest. He's the funnest of the guys.
He's all of them.
Yeah, I mean, he is just a joy. You can just see his love and his passion for the game of baseball. I love watching Kwan play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, I would gladly trade them being like top 10 in home runs for more strikeouts with this more aggressive approach. And they're not even in the top 10 in strikeouts. Their strikeout numbers have been at the bottom of Major League Baseball. So like the offense is just cooking. Yeah, but this starting rotation, just if they can get that figured out, I don't know. I feel like the sky's the limit for this team.
And the other thing on this kind of halfway check-in point, Tim, I love the philosophy, and it feels like a little bit of a philosophy change to me. And maybe they just feel like it's the right time to do it. But they've been, and I don't mean stingy money-wise, because everybody talks about stingy money-wise with the Guardians, and that is what it is. But they've been a little stingy in the past with their prospects, right? They keep guys down, even though fans want to see guys or whatever. And maybe it's for contract purposes, and maybe it's for control purposes or whatever. And this year, and so you've been forced in the past, certain years, to watch these guys. Like Ramon Laureano was here. Nothing bad to say about Ramon Laureano, but he wasn't doing anything here. He wasn't doing anything of immense value. Or Florial was here, and he wasn't doing anything of tremendous value. And there's been this little shift this year, or at least it certainly feels like a shift. They're just getting rid of guys that aren't doing things for them. And even to a lesser extent, they didn't get rid of Tristan McKenzie. They said, hey, you're not doing it for us right now. You got to get down there and improve your game. And they're bringing guys up and letting them make an impact. Look at these guys that are making an impact for this team. Look at Schneemann. That dude hit a bomb so far, he cleared the right field seats tonight with his home run.
I saw that.
Oh, my Lord. Like, they're giving these other guys chances. They're bringing these young. How about John Kenzie, man? John Kenzie is a monster. John Kenzie's his legs are as thick as my house.
That alleyway, at least, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in John Kenzie's leg right now. They're letting these guys come up and make an impact. They're giving them opportunity. It's awesome to see.
Oh, there's no doubt. And this may be a chicken and the egg thing. Were the Guardians struggling last year because they stuck with guys too long, or were they willing to stick with guys because they were struggling? I mean, you go back and forth on that. Now, this year, you've got to have guys produce because you're in the thick of a division race and a pennant race and best record in baseball and home field. So listen, not that they weren't out to win last year. I don't mean it in that sense, but that pressure to win now this year is a lot stronger than it was last year because they foresee September, October baseball being critical, and they need to find out who's going to produce for this baseball team. And so you're right, that leash has gotten a little bit shorter because they need to maintain that lead as far as the Central is concerned, and they need to maintain their standing as far as the overall American League race is concerned. But I do think Voter is willing to let guys play. And if you produce, you're going to keep playing. If you don't, we're going to have a difficult conversation.
Well, and Rusty Wagner just jumped in the comments on YouTube and said, I think they might be showcasing some guys for trades because they're not going to be able to keep everybody on the 40 next year. Hey, listen, Rusty, you might be right. And you're probably going to see some of these guys, if they're going to go get a good starting pitcher. Hello, Chicago. Maybe don't let Chicago leave town without leaving one or two of these guys behind. Yeah, you're probably going to have to see some of these guys go. But the fact that they've got guys up here, even if they're just showcasing them, the fact that they got them up here and they're giving you something worth showcasing is it's awesome, man. I saw the lines today. I believe in the betting odds world, I think the Guardians have it's 3 or 4, the third or fourth best betting odds to win the World Series. Like that's where we're at halfway through. That's where they're above the Yankees in the betting odds to win the World Series. That's where we're at. In this Guardian season, it has been. You referenced one of the great lines in all of sports. Whenever the Guardians clinch a playoff series, you're going to have an October to remember Tom Hamilton. So far, it's been a March to remember, an April to remember, a May to remember, a June to remember. They have been. It's about as fun as a Guardian season as we've had in a long, long time, and it's been awesome. It's cool that you've been able to be a part of it, Tim. It's cool that you've been able to be a part of it and call these games.
Yeah, I mean, I have a great relationship with the folks from the Guardians going back to my WEOL days because, of course, WEOL was an affiliate on the network. And so we did shows down there, went out to Arizona every year. And so I'm still very good friends with Hammy and Rosie, obviously, but Curtis Danberg and Bobby D and all those guys. So, yeah, believe me, my part is a very, very, very small part. And Joe always said, Timothy, your name is not in the box score. So I have nothing to do with the wins and losses, but it's fun to watch. It was a thrill to call. And, man, I wish them nothing but the best.
Tim Alcorn, we're going to let you go, man. It's been so fun talking as much Cavs as we could talk with you, but I'm going to tell you as soon as you're off here, we're talking about the other thing real quick.
Yes.
And then I don't know, we'll have you like text in a reaction later.
Timothy, you work for the Cavaliers. You don't want to lose that paycheck for the Cavaliers.
We're not removing paychecks. Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cavaliers, and then every once in a while the Guardians. Just one of the great friends that we have. It's always good catching up with you. And it's been a lot of fun watching the Cavaliers. Busy week for you, I'm sure, and a busy off season still to come. It's been awesome hanging out, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
If you want to talk again soon, we can do that.
Yes.
We can do that.
Right.
But no, listen, you guys are great friends. We go back a long, long way. And I was only partially kidding earlier when I said I dial up that WEOL mobile app for the Medina County matchup. Man, you guys are awesome. The job you have done down there over many, many years, going back to my time at WEOL, has just been terrific. So despite what I said earlier, anytime you guys want to sit and chat, let's do it on Garage Beers. And I really like this brew dog.
Let's go.
Laser Quest.
You better go get yourself a case of that.
We'll see what I come up with next time.
Yeah.
I may pull out that Christmas ale.
Let's go. All right, Tim, we love you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
See you, Tim.
Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cavaliers. Man, what a good time. Talked a lot of Cavs, talked a lot of Guardians. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but Donovan Mitchell has signed an extension. It's final. I can finally say it. Woo! Donovan Mitchell, extension, baby. Extension time. Yes. Oh, I felt so bad for Tim. I felt so bad. Tim can't talk about it because he's employed by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cavs haven't made it official. I have to tell you, the last hour before we jumped on tonight, I was just refreshing the Cavs Twitter page, please, yeah. God, just say something about it, please. Right. And no, they didn't. Donovan Mitchell is coming back. All those, and now I gotta be polite around Tim. I feel like, even though he's a good friend, I don't have to be more years. I don't have to be polite anymore. All those fucking people in the NBA, those fucking reporters, Kendrick Perkins, who I know Perk is just, he does what he does, but I always kind of like Perk. I can guarantee you that Donovan Mitchell has played his last game for the Cavaliers. Bill Simmons and his stupid ass. Bill stupid ass Simmons.
Carry the hell on, Perk.
Bill stupid ass Simmons. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell is definitely leaving Cleveland. Stephen A. Smith. Donovan Mitchell is nah. Donovan Mitchell re-signing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this was, I talked about it with Tim, Chad, for the Cavaliers. The Kenny Atkinson thing was huge. Get that coach right. You got to get that coach right, and you got to get a guy that's going to get more out of these players, especially offensively, and that's why they hired Kenny Atkinson. But the biggest domino to fall, and the one that we have been waiting for, I finally was able – I have had notifications on Twitter for Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania for like 2 weeks, just waiting for that notification that Donovan Mitchell is re-signing with the Cavaliers. We got it today. I was able to turn off the notifications, which is great. But, dude, it's especially for us here in Cleveland, man. All we hear about is the only superstar that re-ups in Cleveland was LeBron because he's from Cleveland. No other superstar is going to re-up in Cleveland. No other superstar is going to do that. Well, here you go, man. Here you go. Donovan Mitchell just re-upped. And it's because he said he believes in what they're doing. He believes in the direction that they're going. And he wants to be here. I love the video that he released on his Instagram today that said, man, people, I don't know where all this shit's coming from. He said, for people just keep telling me what I'm going to do. Every time I turn on TV, somebody's telling me what I'm going to do. I've said from the beginning that I love it here. I love it here. I want to be here. He's here, man. It was an awesome morning to be a Cavs fan.
And notice how none of them, going back to the national pundits thing for a second, notice how none of them tweeted about this at all today, because they're just eating just plates and piles of crow today because of the signing. Notice how none of them said a word, and I love that. And, you go off that, Mike, just kind of to your point, I kind of like that the direction that this version of the NBA is going in, because you're seeing this more and more. Donovan's not going to play in Cleveland. No way he's staying in Cleveland. He stays in Cleveland. Clay's going to, Clay's going to the Lakers. There's big talk about Clay going to the Lakers, joining up with LeBron. What does Clay do? No, he pulls a 180 and goes to Dallas. Chris fucking Paul goes and joins. I mean, I know he's old. I know he's old as shit, but he goes and he joins the Spurs. There's no reason for Chris Paul to join the Spurs. There's every reason for Chris Paul to chase a trophy right now, to chase a ring. I love that this version, what this version of the NBA is doing, and kind of spreading the wealth, and that's what's going on. So this should come to as a surprise to nobody these days.
No, I'm really interested. I don't want to spend a ton more time, and we're totally going to go over it because there's still like several things I want to talk about. But I'm really interested to see where the direction of the Cavaliers goes from here, because this was the domino, right? The Cavs aren't going to do anything until this first domino, the big domino. I still think we always just do this thing where we undervalue what you have, and I think probably every fan base does that.
Sure.
Donovan Mitchell is a top 10 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that. There's no questioning that. Donovan Mitchell is a top 10 player in the NBA.
Right.
And so to act like you're going to go do anything before you know what his plan is, of course not.
Right.
So the fact that this domino falls, now I'm really interested. And I did a little video on TikTok before, but now it really gets interesting, because now we're going to find out. Do you feel, as an organization, that a new coaching philosophy and getting that buy-in from Donovan Mitchell, do you think that is going to be a catalyst to kind of send you over a hump? Is Kenny Atkinson going to turn Evan Mobley into that next thing? Is Kenny Atkinson going to listen, Darius Garland's had 2 bad years in a row. Is Kenny Atkinson going to be able to bring you back Darius Garland from a couple years back? Because if he can do that, this team is immediately better.
Right.
Or are some of the rumors going to come to fruition? Is somebody going to come calling for Jared Allen that you can't even turn it down because they're willing to give up something that you want? Yeah, is Darius Garland? It was reported that if Donovan Mitchell signed an extension, Darius Garland was going to ask for a trade. Now it seems like that's been walked back, but we don't know. It just got announced today, so there's still so much in flux with this team.
Yeah, well, I mean, with the Donovan Mitchell signing today, I mean, if you're Kobe Altman, obviously if the phone rings, you got to listen because, yeah, I mean, there's no rush to do anything right now because this is still a very good basketball team and you just hired a coach who's known for developing players. So there's no rush to do anything, but if a team calls you with an offer that you can't refuse with just this amazing, why wouldn't you take it? Because as of right now, again, you shouldn't be in a rush, but the gear has switched, right? With that Donovan Mitchell extension, the gear has switched for you to continuously look for ways to improve the team around Donovan. So, yeah, it's go time right now for the Cavs. I mean, it is go time. So if a team calls for Darius with an offer that's too good to pass up, you have to take it. You have to take it because you have to be all in with Donovan here for the next couple of years.
Such a good way to put it, Chad. Such a good way to put it, and that's what you were able to do. The thing that it was almost like a relief.
Yeah,
because before Mitchell makes his announcement that he's going to stay, again, if he would have left, if he would have said, "Nah, this isn't for me. I want to go to New York or whatever," that trade's a disaster.
Yeah.
Even though Donovan Mitchell was so good here.
Yeah.
You mortgaged your future with the draft picks.
Right.
You mortgage good play like Lauri Markkanen turns out to be the best player you got rid of, but you mortgage Markkanen, you mortgage Colin Sexton, you get rid of all that and the draft picks. And if Donovan Mitchell leaves you high and dry, you're looking at 10 years of trying to rebuild that thing.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
just by getting him to agree to that extension, that all goes out the window.
Right.
And now, like you said, it's go time. So it was a huge morning for the Cavaliers.
Yeah. Big day. Huge day. Huge.
All right. We're going to call this quick hitters, but man, we haven't even done our asshole of the week yet. And I want to get to asshole of the week.
Sure.
So let's take a little pause here. Let's do our asshole of the week, and then we'll move into some quick hitters as we get through the rest of our topics. So, Chad, who's your asshole of the week this week?
My asshole of the week is people who are doing fantasy football drafts now, like even before training camp starts. Like you're just an asshole for doing that. Why are you doing that? You just look like a bunch of dorks. All right. All right. Before the third week, no fantasy football draft should ever take place before like the third week of training camp or like right before the regular season starts. Why are you doing it? You don't need to do that. You don't need to do it. All right. Because all you're gonna do is be pissed off when fucking I don't know when Christian Kirk tears his ACL. Oh, I took him in the 4th round back on June 29th. How is this happening to me? No, you're an asshole.
Total asshole. Total, yeah. Summer fantasy footballers, assholes. Total assholes.
Yes.
My asshole of the week this week. I'm going to go back to our last topic. NBA pundits, you stupid assholes. Oh, Old Takes Exposed was a joy today. It was a joy on Twitter today. Old Takes Exposed or Cold Takes or whatever they call it. A joy. Just a joy. Just all these idiots saying, no way do the Cavaliers keep Donovan Mitchell. Well, you sound like assholes, and you are assholes. And you lose, we win. Donovan Mitchell stays in Cleveland, and I love it. All right, so here's some quick hitters. Chad, we have to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah,
because just like it was NBA draft season, it was also NHL draft season. And before we even talk about the Blue Jackets, Chad, every draft that ever happens should just happen at the Sphere.
Yes. Please, God, that was amazing.
I don't care if the NFL draft never comes back to Cleveland or the NBA draft. Just send it all to the Sphere. That was the coolest thing. It was amazing out there.
Yeah. Yes. It was awesome to look at. I have to get to a show of some sort out at the Sphere, dude. It's just how could you not want to be there?
Should every city just have a Sphere?
Yes. Yeah.
Let's just Sphere every city. How do we do it?
Yeah, I don't know, but when the Browns moved to Brook Park, the plan for downtown should be to put a Sphere.
Just Sphere that thing right on the lakefront.
Yeah, please, for God's sakes.
Shit, what's over there? You see a coyote?
Yeah, I heard some sort of noise. It might have been something. Is there some sort of creature lurking in my backyard right now?
Oh shit!
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, the Sphere was so cool. Watching the NHL draft was amazing. Yeah. Just the graphics and it was awesome. It was awesome. It was awesome. So let's Sphere every city. But let's talk about the Blue Jackets draft first of all. The Jackets drafted 6 players in the draft. They drafted a center with their first pick, and I'm very excited about this guy. They drafted 4 defensemen and a goalie. And listen, who knows what you're going to get out of your 2 second-rounders, Charlie Elick and Evan Gardner, the defenseman and the goalie. Who knows what you're going to get out of the late-round picks. But Caden Lindstrom, they take Caden Lindstrom at 4, and there was a little bit of intrigue that happened in the pick before theirs because nobody really knew what was going to happen, and there was a little bit of a surprise pick at pick 3.
Yeah,
and it didn't seem to affect the Jackets at all. It seemed like Caden Lindstrom was their guy they wanted going into the draft.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who got taken before, unless something real weird happened. But Caden Lindstrom gets selected by the Jackets. Just all of a sudden, this Jackets team has a real solid foundation at center. A real solid depth situation going on at center. What did you think about that taking Lindstrom at 4th overall?
Down the middle, the Jackets are going to be formidable for years to come. For years and years and years and years to come. The center depth, I really love. With the signing of Sean Monahan, which I'm sure we'll get to, it's a number 1 center who can serve as a mentor. But then Caden Lindstrom, just big and fast and physical and skillful and a playmaker, really good in the faceoff circle. There was a clear plan with this Jackets draft. Don Waddell, I love the draft that Don Waddell had. There was a clear plan here, and that was to get guys with size and with speed and with physicality. And that's exactly everybody outside of the goalie they drafted in Evan Gardner. That was the guy that was the theme of this draft. So yeah, I love every single bit about it. And Charlie Elick, he's a shutdown defenseman with size and can beat the living shit out of you. And yeah, I don't know. I just every part about this. I mean, I don't know a ton about Evan Gardner, but I saw that his NHL comparison is Igor Shesterkin. Just that right off the bat it has me sold. Okay, so yeah, I loved everything about this draft from the plan that Don Waddell had. So yeah, I love it.
Rusty Wagner asked a great question, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. But you brought it up, the big signing for the Jackets in free agency now that the free agency period has started is Sean Monahan, another center, another middleman. Who a former teammate in Calgary of Johnny Gaudreau, and a guy that really had good years with Johnny Gaudreau. And Sean Monahan is the victim of health-related issues. He is a victim of injury, and that's a big concern, is a guy that hasn't really been able to stay on the ice, but he had a pretty decent bounce-back year this last year, and it earned him a contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. You talk about, well, first of all, give me your thoughts on Monahan. If he's healthy, what's he bring to the Blue Jackets?
If he's healthy, he's worth every penny of that 5-year, $5.5 million contract, because he's proven that when he has been healthy and on the ice, because I know he tried to play through those injuries, but when he's been healthy and he's been on the ice, he's an incredibly productive player. And he's a guy that when he's on the ice and healthy, because it's really the only concern with this signing. When he's healthy, he's an incredible playmaker, and he's a goal-scoring center, and he's very good in the face-off circle. He's a guy that you can put in the circle in a crucial face-off situation right? Like say, empty net at the end of the game, and you need to win a face-off. You need a big power play face-off win. You need a big defensive zone win. Sean Monahan's the guy that can do that. What he also brings is incredible leadership, right? They need a new voice. They need a new veteran voice in that locker room, and Sean Monahan can be that guy for the young guys, for guys like Cole Sillinger, for guys like Adam Fantilli, right? He can be a mentor for this as well. And so he kind of brings all facets. He kind of brings multiple facets to this locker room, multiple value to this locker room if he can stay healthy. And yeah, 5 years might have been a little bit too long, but as long as he can stay on the ice, he's worth every penny.
And I, we've talked about how strong they're going to be and the depth they're going to have up the middle. And it's also showed you that it should improve them on the wings as well, because, one of the things getting talked about right now is, well, does that mean Boone Jenner is going to move off to a wing, right?
Yes.
Are we going to get Boone Jenner out of the middle and put him off on one of the wings? Yes. And immediately that improves your wings, right? And improves another. Like, imagine putting Boone Jenner on the wing on the third line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Oh my God!
Boone's going to go back to his natural position where he's excels at the most, and he can keep his wrists intact because he's had some hand issues and wrist issues over the last couple of years that he's been forced to be in the face-off circle. But yeah, you can keep Boone healthy, so that immediately improves you on the wings. And the fact that they sent the qualifying offers to guys like Kent Johnson, to guys like Marchenko,
Sillinger,
Sillinger. So those guys are going to be back as well. It's a lot of skill and speed and youth returning here for the Blue Jackets. And then you add Monahan into the mix. He can be another good mentor to these young guys. And then I think the wild card here is with Laine. If Patrick Laine comes back. And we talked to Mark Scheig last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and remember, if Laine does come back, if Laine has has had a conversation with Waddell, and depending on who the new coach is, Laine might not get traded. So if you can put Monahan on a line with, Laine and Johnny, this could, and Laine's right mentally, because when Laine's right mentally, he's one of the best snipers in the game. Yeah. That could be a deadly first line there for the Blue Jackets.
No, and again, it's they don't even have a coach yet.
Right.
There were rumors abound 2 weeks ago. Still nothing has come of that, which is no big deal. They're trying to get the right coach, and that's Don Waddell taking his time and getting the right guy. But just piecing this thing together. I think one of the interesting things that's come up over the course of time, especially under Waddell, is they've kind of talked to him about the team and the roster and all that. I mean, check me if I'm wrong here, Chad, but one of the most interesting things that he has talked about, he seems to just be throwing all the chips in on Elvis Merzlikins, right? Like they've asked him about Elvis. They've asked him about, is this, and he continues to come back and say, like, we are absolutely planning on Elvis as our goalie in net. And that's been such a big topic of conversation with the Blue Jackets. Does it surprise you how firmly he's been in that camp, or I don't know. I don't know exactly how. It just seems like he's very firmly like, yes, we are going to build around Elvis.
I think if you asked him off the record, he would have a different answer for you. But I honestly, I think we came to the realization that Elvis's contract would be tough to get traded, especially with the production that he's had over the last couple of years. So I think what he's doing right here is giving Elvis a vote of confidence and a chance to be the goalie that he might have the potential to be. Right? I don't know if it's necessarily he is fully confident in Elvis, but what he's doing is a source of motivation here for Elvis. Trying to get him to be, at least in his way, to be the best version of Elvis that he possibly can be, and he's also putting a couple of guys in front of him that might have a little bit better defensive edge to him, because I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but the Jackets just signed Jack Johnson tonight.
Yes, I saw that. That was right before we came on the air.
Yeah.
Former Blue Jacket
Right.
and new Blue Jacket, Jack Johnson. Yeah, but this is, again, it feels like the Jackets should have the offensive ability to keep up with anybody. That's what it feels like. It feels like they have the players offensively to keep up with anybody.
Yeah.
And they've spent so much capital, just like they did this year.
Right.
They spent so much capital on young defensive players, right? Like David Jiricek is probably going to be on the opening roster for the Blue Jackets. Like, but he's got to be. He's got to be. Like, these guys have to hit quickly on the defensive side of things. And then you've got to pair them, right? Like, you've lost Jake Bean. I think Boquist is gone, if I'm not mistaken. He's gone. So you're losing some defensive players. They've got to get not just defensive players in, but you got to get this right mix of these really incredibly talented young guys paired up with the right group of vets. And that's why you see him bringing back Jack Johnson, which is, Jack Johnson's not going to come back to Columbus and be an all-star caliber player. But, man, if he can just be productive and kind of a leader on that defensive side of things, I think that could be a great signing for them.
I mean, you stick him on the third or fourth line with Goodbranson, and then you basically have the fucking Hanson brothers.
That's right.
But I mean, he can be another mentor on the blue line. I mean, if you look at the blue line, there's a lot of veterans. I mean, that's probably the most veteran-laden part of the Jackets now, between Werenski and Severson and Provorov and now Jack Johnson and Goodbranson. That's probably the most veteran-laden part of this team. So if Jack Johnson can come in here and be somewhat productive, it can be good, because we talk so much about. So much about goaltending is not only just, the goaltender themselves, but who's in front of them playing defense. So he bring in a lot of those veterans. It could bode well, but it remains to be seen, because Jack Johnson's like 100 years old.
But it feels like a situation that's ready to explode, in that take these veteran guys, and then impart some of these young guys. You got to start putting these young guys in there and letting them go to work. And it feels like an equation that could be solved faster than maybe what you think it could, right? If some of these young defensive players can come in there and just immediately start making impacts, it could be huge for the Blue Jackets. So we got a question from Rusty Wagner. What's holding the Blue Jackets? Like, as you look at them now, knowing there's new leadership, knowing they're about to have a new coach, we don't know who it's going to be, but again, Don Waddell has told us very blatantly that he's looking for an experienced, qualified, successful head coach. What's holding the Blue Jackets right now back from making the playoffs?
Youth, and a coach who can put it all together. Because the talent is there. The talent is there. Just the young guys have to come along a little bit faster than they have. But sometimes it takes a while for the young guys to develop. Right. There's guys that you just can't give up on, because you see it. You see the flashes there. But then there's a coach, again, kind of like in the mold of a Kenny Atkinson, actually, who can bring these guys along and put it all together. That's what's missing, because the talent is there. The talent is 1,000% there. But they need the right system. And
I interested to hear your take on this, Chad. We talked about it a lot with Kenny Atkinson, but listen, this is a Blue Jackets team now that has gone through two coaches in very short order.
Yeah.
But two first-time head coaches, two guys that didn't have that head coaching NHL experience.
Right.
If they go out there and get the right guy, AKA not Mike Babcock.
Sure. Yes.
If they go out there and get the right guy, how big of an impact do you think that can have on wins and losses right now?
Oh, big time. Huge. I mean, you saw it with pretty much any veteran coach that they've brought in. John Tortorella won pretty much right away. Ken Hitchcock won right away. Right. Who's the other? I can't think of the other coach that came in, but he was experienced and he won right away. So I mean, the right coach with the right type of discipline, with the right type of system, with the right type of standards, he can absolutely come in here and win right away.
Yeah, well, again, a lot of stuff still to happen with the Columbus Blue Jackets, including finding a head coach. But again, we're just at the early stages of free agency. I wish Joey was here because his Nashville Predators signed, I don't know, everybody.
Yeah, pretty much.
They signed everybody. The Nashville Predators have signed them all. But again, the Blue Jackets, it's going to be very much like the Cavs. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can put the right pieces in place and get the right coach with the right system, because that really is the key to any of these sports teams, isn't it, Chad? It isn't just getting the right guys.
Sure.
It's getting the right guys and the right coach in the right system, all moving in the right direction, and you can be successful no matter who you are. So, Don Waddell is a great start. He's a guy that knows how to do this, and it's going to be interesting to see once they bring the coach in, whoever that is, if they can all start moving in that right direction. And going back to Rusty's question on the playoffs, anytime. I mean, again, with the amount of youth that these guys have, Chad, with the amount of youth that's on this Blue Jackets roster and the amount of elite blue chip talent youth,
right.
It could be this year. All of a sudden, it could be, oh my God, the Blue Jackets are
figured it out.
They're like the 5th seed at the midway point, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell is going on with these guys?
Right.
And that's what can happen with a roster like this.
Sure.
So, 100%. All right, Chad, last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. I want to start this conversation because we love doing this on the Garage Beers podcast. If you're relatively new to us, get ready for it, because we like the Olympics here on the Garage Beers podcast.
Okay.
And we're going to go for big Olympic guests again. In the past, man, we've had big time Olympians. Bonnie Blair has been with us. And who else have we had on with us?
Rob McClanahan.
Hell yes. Matt Biondi, Natalie Coughlin. Oh, she was great. Yeah. We love the Olympics. All right, so we're in the middle of these the Olympic qualifiers, right?
Yeah.
Our girl Katie Najat from Olmsted Falls. She was with us right after she won the gold medal in the last Olympics 4 years ago.
Shout out.
And Katie Moon is qualified again to go back and defend her gold medal in the pole vault. So we're going to go after some Olympians here, but I've seen some things have happened in these qualifiers, and I got to know this. Chad. What's your opinion on this?
Okay.
You got these qualifiers, and what's the point of these qualifiers? The point of these qualifiers is to get your country's best Olympians, best athletes.
Right, to see who makes the team.
Represent. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you got a race. I don't care what race it is, the 400, the 1600, whatever, the 5,000, whatever. You got a race.
Just keep going.
And it's a one-time shot, right? It's your one race, and you got to make it to a certain level to advance and to be a part of the team, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't countries have like a freaking fail-safe where, like, maybe if you're best athlete in a certain event, like, I don't know, trips and falls, you figure out a way to get him on the Olympic team?
You would think so. Maybe make him an alternate.
This shit is wild. This shit is wild. It didn't happen a lot, but it happens every once in a while. We're like, it has happened this year. We're like, I don't know, one of the U.S.'s like best runners in a certain race gets tripped by another person. And it's like, well, you're not on the Olympic team. Sucks to be you. What is the point of that?
We know you're better than everybody else, but you didn't win. Sorry.
You didn't win because Joe Schmo kicked your feet out from under you coming around the last turn. What?
What?
Should there not be a fail-safe?
Sorry. Chuck in a Truck has been training really hard this year, so he deserves the shot. He deserves a shot.
How is there not a fail-safe to this? How is there not like a, but he or she is the best, so we're still going to put him on the team.
Them's the rules, man. Them's the rules. Yeah, it's probably, but it sucks. It's stupid. It's
really stupid.
Yeah, but you would think that. Yeah, I mean, when there's a clear favorite and a clear like better athlete than everybody else, you would think they would almost have automatic bids, and like it was just like they just have these races to see who the rest of the team is. But that's a problem.
I've watched some of these qualifiers, and they're like, "Oh man, such bad luck for the USA's top runner." And I'm sitting there like,
no.
"Why the fuck are we doing this?" I don't know.
Shit.
I get real patriotic at Olympic time, and then I get very aggravated. I'm like, why is that person that's like the world record holder?
Yeah.
But I don't know, some idiot kicked their legs out from under them, and now they're going to be watching the Olympics like I am.
Hey,
what are we doing?
Listen, early cheers of the week to those people who trip them up so they could go to the Olympics. Good for you. At
the Olympics, they come in 7th place.
At any cost. Win at any cost. Whatever it takes. All right.
If I'm not making it, you're not making it. Whack.
Goddamn right. All right.
By the way, certain events, man. Certain events. It is so hard to. Do you ever watch Steeplechase?
I have watched it in the past.
What the fuck is that?
Well,
why is there a puddle on the track?
Well, Mike, remember when you're like running through the woods as a kid and then you leap over logs in the ponds? Yeah. That's we did it all the time.
Steeplechase.
We did it all the time as kids.
What?
Yeah.
How are these events in the Olympics?
Yeah, they're like, you know what? You know what's a good challenge? Let's see how good you can run wet. It's like, yeah, like I know, like now you're just gonna be running with wet socks in your feet. It's the worst.
Listen, we need a new event in the Olympics this year. You guys remember the show Guts on Nickelodeon?
Oh man,
dude, let's do that. Let's do that.
I would make the Olympic team because I've wanted a glowing piece of that rock so bad.
The aggro crag?
Yes.
The crag?
Oh my God. I would absolutely qualify for that. At least in my head, I totally would qualify for the aggro crag. 1,000%.
Who comes up with this shit?
Yeah.
I was watching Steeplechase the other day, and I'm like,
then NBC goes to Mo for the results. Mo.
Was it Mike O'Malley?
Yeah. Let's go to Mo for the results. Mo, and they're like, Sha'Carri Richardson, spill your guts.
I'm Sha'Carri, and I'm faster than you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right. The other thing, man, as we approach the Olympics, and we're talking about all these countries getting their best teams together, whatever. The USA is a joke in soccer, man. Yeah. What is going on with this? Not women's soccer. They're dominant in women's soccer.
Sure.
What in the hell? How is it that a country this size that dominates athletics in pretty much everything, how can it not field a soccer team at this point? How can it not field a soccer team?
I don't know. I just watched the Netherlands and Romania. That's all I watched. I don't watch the U.S.
But the U.S. dumped the game last night to Uruguay, which, again, Uruguay is kind of a traditional powerhouse, I think. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, Uruguay won the first ever World Cup. Uruguay is a traditional powerhouse soccer country. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Traditional my ass. How can the U.S. not field a good soccer team?
I actually did watch the last 35 minutes of that game last night, and it's like, I don't know. It just felt I am no soccer expert by any means, but it just felt unorganized. Like it felt sloppy. It felt like they were just they were lost. Like it felt like they were lost out there.
I like soccer. I love watching soccer. I love watching the Premier League. It's not my favorite sport, but it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing.
Sure.
What are you talking about? We can't in this whole freaking country we got states bigger than some of these countries.
Sure.
We can't find 30 dudes that are really good at soccer that we can put on a team together.
Not as good as the ones over in Europe where they practice this shit like 14 hours a day.
In England?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, how are we not beating England in sports?
It's the sport that we have yet to catch up with. I mean, the rest of the world is caught up in basketball and apparently fucking hot football. Oh, that's like, asshole, the later asshole of the week, the under 20 USA football team, jackasses. Yeah.
There's nobody on that team, Chad. Like
the youth of America is fucked, Mike. The youth of America is fucked.
I love how worked up you're getting about that. And I'm like, there isn't.
No.
It's the same guys. What was the name of the fake high school football team?
Bishop Sycamore. Yeah, well,
that's who plays on that team. It's just the Bishop Sycamore.
It's bullshit. Okay, you know,
the U.S. under-20 team, even though they were all 50, played Japan and lost.
Basketball, yeah, okay, I get it. They were going to catch up. Global baseball went global after we invented it. Football's our sport, Mike. Football is our sport. The rest of the world can't have it. Don't let them have it, but we let them have it.
I don't know if we even said the under-20 team. I don't even know who's on this team. It is the most. I think you could just sign up as long as you're under 20. You could just sign up and be on the team.
A bunch of fucking losers.
They got doubled up by Japan in a game,
and then they lost to Austria. We didn't even medal. Because we lost to fucking Austria.
There's nobody on the team, Chad.
Benny Schwarzenegger, Arnold's son, is ran for like 150. I'm just making that up, but it sounds right. 150 yards and like 3 touchdowns.
It's Benji Schwarzenegger.
God damn it, that's the kid they had with the housekeeper, didn't he? Anyway,
I don't know. Hey, listen, the Olympics coming up in Paris. I know for sure we will we'll be reaching out to our buddy Matt Barnes, who covers sports down there at NBC4 in Columbus. He is their Olympics guy that they send everywhere, and we've had him checking in from everywhere the Olympics is, and we'll reach out and have him check in again from Paris. But the Olympics are coming up, so we'll get more guests on for that. We got a great special guest next week, and I'm going to try to get 2 special guests. But one for sure, Browns fans, you're going to want to tune in. I'll announce it now, and then we'll get more info out. But Nathan Zagura is coming on with us next week, and we're going to catch up on the Browns. There's just not been a lot to talk about. We're going to catch up on them. We're going to talk about Browns with Nathan Zagura, and we're going to talk a little pro wrestling with Nathan Zagura because he is locked in a battle. He is locked in to a battle with a seasoned professional wrestler. He took a Jeff Jarrett guitar to the face a couple weeks ago. Yeah. We're going to talk to him about how he's going to resolve that in a few weeks with AIW. Right. So Nathan Zagura on next week. We got other special guests getting ready, waiting in the wings. So we'll get to all that. But the last thing we're going to do here tonight is we're going to get to our cheers of the week. Chad, you started off with asshole of the week. I'll start off with cheer of the week.
Sure.
And I'm going to be honest with you, man. My cheer of the week is very broad. It's very generic. My cheer of the week is anything that doesn't involve American politics.
Oh, yeah.
Like fucking anything.
Sure.
Anything. I don't care what it is. As long as it doesn't involve the nightmare that is American politics. Nope, Rusty. Not AEW, Rusty. Nope. What? AIW, buddy. AIW, Absolute Intense Wrestling here in Cleveland. That's where Nathan Zagura took a chair shot from Jeff Jarrett.
And that's a
guitar shot from Jeff Jarrett.
Although Jeff Jarrett is an AEW. So, okay. I mean, we got
he is an AEW, but AIW here in Cleveland is where you got to watch out for Nathan Zagura trying to get a little payback against Jeff Jarrett.
Right.
Anyways, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's just some old lady walking down the road. Anything that doesn't have anything to do with American politics. It is a dumpster fire in American politics right now. And anything that could take my mind off of it is a beautiful thing. So my cheers goes out to literally anything. Anything that isn't American politics, I'm in. That's my cheer.
Yeah.
Chad.
Nice. My cheers goes to the Huck Tua girl. Because she's making something out of nothing now. I mean, it just goes to show you just one stupid, simple fucking thing can get you like famous and a whole media deal and a contract now. She's signed with Penthouse and she signed on with like an entertainment lawyer and she's going to be doing podcasts and shows now, all because she likes to spit on a dick when she's working it. It's like good for her. I mean, good for her. But my cheers goes to her because you found your niche.
I was listening to I don't know, maybe it was one of the Barstool interview. They were interviewing her and she's like, yeah, I quit my job and I'm going to move out to LA and I got all this stuff set up. And I'm like,
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Because you hucked to it on a microphone?
Yeah, and it was born out of a chance encounter to where you probably hocked to it on a couple of them that night in Nashville. I don't know.
Oh my God. She was like, I quit my job. I'm moving to LA. I got these deals. I got a show. Right. We got a lot of stuff coming up. And I'm like, what?
And it just took it's taken the world by storm. And we just got to do something dumb to figure out how we're going to go nuts. Mike.
Chad, all we needed for Garage Beers to become a global brand, all we needed was for you to go to Nashville and grab a microphone out of somebody's hand and say you were going to hawk to on somebody. And that was it. We would have just been, we'd have been billionaires at this point.
Shit, if I would have known that. If only.
Chad's like, I didn't know I was supposed to tell people I was doing that.
Yeah, good for you, cool lady.
All right, cheers. I was wondering when that was going to come up on this podcast, and I'm glad it happened tonight.
I wasn't going to do it until this happened. Like, fuck, she signed with like Penthouse. I don't know. Maybe she'll be doing porn soon.
Oh God! All right.
I mean, Penthouse. I don't know. Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. It's 11 o'clock. We've gone for 2 hours. Let's do our thank yous and let's get out of here. Our first thank you goes out to our special guest, Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers, talking all things Cavs with us, talking Guardians with us. We had a great time with Tim. Go follow him online at CAVS Alcorn as the Cavaliers continue to plow through their offseason. Shout out to Tim for joining us. We love him. Shout out number 2 goes out to the OBR. The OBR is the place that hosts us, the Orange and Brown Report, the oldest and largest independent Brown site in the Cleveland area. Make sure you are tuned in to the OBR for everything Browns related and to hang out with us and talk Cavs and Guardians and Browns and Blue Jackets and everything in between. The OBR, OBR.com, subscribe, get over to YouTube or Twitch. Make sure you hit follow. But shout out to the OBR, the Cleveland Tint Company, for all your window tinting needs. They sponsor our Garage Beers of the Week segment. So get over to clevelandtint.com for all your window tinting needs. And our last thank you goes out to you, everybody that joined us here tonight, or everybody that's going to join us later, whether it's on the podcast version or Twitch or YouTube on demand. We appreciate you. We love you guys. The comments were great tonight. We appreciate you for jumping in, being a part of the show. And we love the support. Get out there, tell your friends, tell your family, hide your kids, hide your wives. Make sure everybody is tuned in to Garage Beers. Again, big stuff coming up with us, and we hope you'll be a part of it. That's going to do it for episode 219. For Joey, who wasn't here at Garage Beers, Joe. For Chad over there on the east side of Cleveland at Garage Beers, Chad. I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers, Mike. Until next week for episode 220, we'll see you then. Cheers, everybody.